Hi class, this is Neil, and this is a video tutorial of lesson 4 functions graphically. All right, so in our do now, we're told that if f of x equals 4x minus 2, then determine f of 10. Important to remember that 10 is our input. So I input 10 into my equation for x. I'll have f of 10 equals 4 times 10 minus 2, or f of 10 equals 40 minus 2, which means that f of 10 equals 38. All right, let's look at question 2. Let f of x equal 3x minus 5 divided by 2. Okay, so in part A, we're told that f of a equals 11, and we want to know what is a. Now, one thing we need to remember is that here a represents our input, 11 is our output. So we're looking here for our input. That's what we don't know. All right, so I know that f of a is 11. We define that here. So I can replace this f of x with 11 equals, actually, you know what? Let's just take it one step back. I'm going to write f of a equals 3 times a minus 5 over 2. I know here that f of a equals 11, so I can replace f of a with 11 equals 3a minus 5 over 2. Now to solve this, I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, cancel out on the right, and I'll have 22 equals 3a minus 5. I'm going to add 5 to both sides. I'll just scroll up and run out of space. And I'll have 27 equals 3a, divide by 3, a equals 9. All right, let's look at part B. If f of 11 equals b, then determine b. All right, so here again, we're told what our input is. Our input is 11. Oh, actually, this one's different, right? Oh, yeah, we're told our input. We don't know our output. So this is just a straight, let me plug in that value 11. So f of 11 equals 3 times 11 minus 5 divided by 2. So here we know f of 11 equals 33 minus 5 over 2. F of 11 equals 33 minus 5 is 28 divided by 2. So therefore, f of 11 equals 14. Awesome. Great. So let's move on to our lesson. So in the lesson, we're going to be evaluating functions from graphs. All right, so for question 1, we're told let f of x equal x squared plus 1. Complete the graph below and graph the function using the values from the table. Okay, so one important thing to realize here is that x represents our input, and that's our x value. Our output is f of x, and on this axis here, this coordinate plane, that f of x is represented by y. Okay, so I'm simply going to be plugging in these values, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, into my equation here. So as an example, f of -2 is equal to -2 squared plus 1. All right, so -2 squared is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. Okay, and you're going to do that for every value that's there. So every input you're going to need to evaluate to find the output. Okay, so if I do that, -1 squared plus 1, that's 1 plus 1 is 2. If I put 0 in, I'll get 1. And now you should see something kind of interesting. The numbers start to repeat. Well, the numbers really to the left of 0 and to the right of 0 are the same. All right, so let's graph that function. I'm getting a little tired of red, so let me use, I don't know, let's use blue. So we'll just assume that our scale here is 1. So -2, 5. I go over to -2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up to 5. -1, 2, over to -1, up 2. 0, 1, so over 0, up 1. 1, 2 is here, and 2, 5 is here. All right, so when I graph my function, it makes this very, very pretty shape. If we remember from today's class, it's Carrie's favorite song, Parabola. Now, honestly, I don't remember the name of the band, but if you do, you could message us for extra credit. All right, part B. What values did you use for the y-coordinates of the plotted points? Okay. Well, our y values, remember, were all the same as f of x. So that's what we used to plot our y values. Okay, question 2. The graph below shows a function f of x. The function f of x doesn't have a nice rule, but based on the graph shown, you can still answer the following questions. All right, so let's take a look. F of 1. So 1 here is our input. Our output at 1, so our y value at 1 is 3. F of -5. So f of -5, the y value at 5 is 4. F of 6. Okay, so my input is 6, my x value is 6, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6. And here my y value is 2. Okay, f of -2. So at -2, your y value, or your output, is 1, 2, 7. So our y value is 7. Okay, how is E different than the rest of them? Well, in E, we know our output, or we know our y value. We don't know our input. So I'm going to look for a y value of -2. And I found it right here. So the question is, what's my x value at that point? Well, I squint my eyes and count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like it's 4. So f of 4 equals -2. All right, next, if f of a equals 8, how much is a? So what are we looking for there? Input or output? Yeah, we're looking for our input. So I'm looking for a y value of 8. This one looks like it might be it. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yep, that's f of 8. So that's a y value of 8 there. My x value is 9. So a equals 9. So the important idea here is that x is our input, like we discussed before. F of x is our output. And that's the same thing as y when it comes to our graph. Let me erase that. So it's the y on the coordinate plane. All right, so I think we have a few practice problems here. We'll do them together. Many of you probably already did this in class. So, all right, first, determine f of 2. Okay, so we're looking for the output at 2. So I'm going to go over 2. And my output, remember, is my y value there. So that is -3. So -3. F of 6. So I'm going to go over to 6. 6 is my input or my x value. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My output, ooh, you really have to squint here. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5. The y value is 5. Okay, f of 4. So an input of 4 gives me an output, which is this y value here, of -3 again. Oh, I'm talking wrong. It's late in the day. So yes, this was my output of -4. So what I was looking for here was my input. So my input is, oh, I found the wrong point. So we're looking for an output of -4. Do we see that somewhere? Yeah, that's my output of -4. My input then would be 3. All right, let's turn to the practice 2. Determine g of 10. All right, so we're looking for the output when g is 10. Oh, it's all the way over here. So that is 3. The y value is 3. G of -2. So an input of -2. What is my output? There's -2. My output is 1. G of b equals -2. What are we looking for here? We're looking for our input. So here's -2 on the graph. My input is 7. So b is equal to 7. So what's the maximum output value of g of x? So maximum output, I'm going to read that as the maximum y value. So the highest y value I see is right here. Okay, and that y value is 7. At what x value does the maximum output occur? Well, I'm going to cheat a little bit because I know this graph has a maximum x and minimum x of 10 and -10. And that was my maximum output. So the x value there is -10. All right, question 3. The graph below shows a function. The graph below shows a function, f of x. Answer each of the following questions. F of 3. So the output when x equals 3 is 1. Okay, an output of 3. Where do we see an output of 3? Well, it's right here. So the question is, what is that input? And it's 10. I'm just double checking that. All right, f of 4 equals, we don't know. So when I input 4, so here's 4, my output there is 2. This question, f of something equals 4. So we're looking here for our input. Okay, so here's 4 on my graph. So my input had to be 8, or my x value was 8. F of b equals -8. This looks like -8 to me. We're looking for our input value, and that is 1. F of 0. Okay, an x value of 0 produces an output of 5. All right, and f of a equals 0. So do we see 0 anywhere on our graph? I see it right here. Okay, so the input that gives me 0 is 7. So a equals 7. All right, that's it for this video. See you in class tomorrow.